Party governorship candidate for Imo State, Tunde Idowu, maintains he is a candidate to bid for the exercise, saying even incumbent Hope Uzodinma cannot persuade him to drop his ambition. While there have been speculations in some quarters that the LP candidate is a placeholder and will be bought off soon, Mr. Idowu said he is going the whole haul. He stated that the people of the state already know the truth and they were following him, querying how he can be a placeholder for the current governor. According to the former lawmaker, contesting the Imo governorship poll was not something he wanted to do, but his supporters asked him not to retire from politics and he had to return to the ring. The LP candidate, who lamented the bottleneck of doing business in the southeast, said the quest to rewrite history pushed him into the governorship contest. Moving on, 3 persons were reported missing after a wooden passenger boat was gutted by fire shortly after taking off at Kacha community in Kacha local government area of Niger State. According to an eyewitness, Abdulmalik Adamu, the incident happened at about 6 p.m. yesterday, shortly after the boat finished loading goods and passengers who were retiring to their villages after the weekly Kacha market day. He said the boat operator was powering the engine when it caught fire, forcing passengers to scamper for safety. Confirming the incident to newsmen, the leader of the boat operators in Kacha Dangana boat did not disclose the cause of the fire, but said the boat was burned to ashes along with the goods. He disclosed that local divers at the boat dock helped in evacuating some of the victims, noting that 3 persons who are mostly children are yet to be accounted for. President Bola Tinubu yesterday approved the partial waiver of the no work, no pay order instituted against striking members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities following the commencement of their 8-month strike, which began on February 14, 2022. In a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, the president said the waiver will allow for the previously striking members of ASU to receive 4 months of salary accruals out of the 8 months of salary which was withheld. However, Tinubu directed the grant of the waiver with a mandatory requirement that the Federal Ministry of Education and the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment must secure a document of understanding establishing that this exceptional waiver granted by the president will be the last one. The president also approved the waiver of the policy instituted against striking members of the National Association of Resident Doctors on August 4, 2023, following the commencement of their industrial action, which began on July 26, 2023. Elsewhere, the remains of the late Nigerian ambassador to Morocco, Mansour Nuhu Bamali, have been laid to rest in Zaria, Kaduna State. The Friday burial was attended by mourners from within and outside Kaduna State who beseeched the palace of the Emir of Zazzau, Nuhu Bamali, to pay their last condolences to the family. Among the dignitaries present at the funeral prayer include the Kaduna State Governor, Senator Ubasani, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, the immediate past Governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, amongst others. The late Ambassador Mansour Nuhu Bamali, who is the younger brother to the Emir of Zazzau, Ahmed Bamali, died in a private hospital in Lagos. He was 53. Until his death, he was the Magajin Garin Zazzau and a senior member of the Zazzau Emirate Traditional Council. You're watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sport news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Welcome back and talking business. The federal government's debt to the Central Bank of Nigeria through the Ways and Means advances fell to 4.36 trillion naira after most of it was restructured in June 2023. The figure was according to the provisional data from the Apex Bank through its quarterly statistical bulletin for the second quarter of 2023. However, it was guarded that the loan rose by 3.4 trillion naira in 5 months from 23.53 trillion naira in December 2022 to 26.95 trillion naira in May 2023. It was recently reported that the federal government paid an interest of 912.32 billion naira in the first quarter of 2023 on the loans it got from the CBN. This amount was stated in the first quarter of 2023 budget implementation report by the Budget Office of the Federation. Meanwhile, the U.S. government on Friday posted a $1.695 trillion budget deficit in fiscal 2023, a 23% jump from the prior year as revenues fell and outlays for Social Security, Medicare, and records high interest costs on the federal debt rose. The Treasury Department said the deficit was the largest since a COVID-fueled $2.78 trillion gap in 2021. It marks a major return to ballooning deficit after back-to-back decline during President Joe Biden's first 2 years in office. The deficit comes as President Biden is asking Congress for $100 billion in new foreign and security spending, including $60 billion for Ukraine and $14 billion for Israel, along with funding for U.S. border security, amongst others. The big deficits, which exceeded all pre-COVID deficits, including those brought about by Republican tax cuts passed under Donald Trump and from the financial crisis years, is likely to inflame Biden's fiscal battles with Republicans in the House of Representatives. On the foreign scene, Egypt today opened a summit on the Gaza crisis to try to head off a wider regional war, but assembled Middle Eastern and European leaders are expected to struggle to agree a common position on the conflict between Israel and Hamas militants. The absence of a top official from Israel's main ally, the United States, and some other major Western leaders has cooled expectations for what the hastily convened event can achieve. The summit meets as Israel prepares a ground assault on Gaza following Hamas attack that killed 1,400 people. More than 4,100 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's counteroffensive. South Africa's president, who is attending the summit, called on the international community to work together to resolve the conflict, also reiterating that humanitarian aid must be allowed to go through. On his part, the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas said Palestinians will not accept to be transferred outside the Gaza Strip despite relentless bombardment from the Israeli army. Shortly before the opening, trucks loaded with humanitarian aid began entering the Rafah crossing into Gaza, footage from Egyptian state TV showed. Egypt has been trying for days to channel humanitarian relief to Gaza through the crossing.
We also call for a United Nations-led negotiation process towards resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The international community has a duty and a responsibility to support peace and to create favorable conditions for negotiations and dialogue. As South Africans, we can relate to what is happening to Palestinians. Our people waged a brave and courageous struggle to achieve their freedom and were subjected to untold suffering, just like the Palestinians are going through. But we had courageous leaders who were able to set aside their differences and sued for peace, and were able to bring the abhorrible system of apartheid to an end. So we call on all parties to exercise restraint and on all state actors to desist also from providing weapons to either of the two sides to this conflict. We are concerned that the response of the Israeli government to the attack on its citizens will further deepen a conflict that has engulfed the region for many decades and will make the attainment of a just and lasting peace.
In Asia, three-time Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has landed in Pakistan after 4 years of exile, according to local media reports. The AFP had this morning reported that Sharif was on his way home after 4 years of self-imposed exile, primed to make a political comeback ahead of elections. The South Asian nation is facing overlapping security, economic and political crisis ahead of polls already pushed back to January 2024, with Mr. Sharif's primary opponent, the fiercely popular Imran Khan, languishing in jail. The senior leader of Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party, Khawaja Muhammad Asif, said this is a time for hope and celebration, noting that his return bodes well for Pakistan's economy and its people. According to Pakistan media outlet, Mr. Sharif spent the past several days in Dubai and left on a chartered flight packed with journalists. Meanwhile, in the U.S., hardline conservative Republican Jim Jordan's quest to become Speaker of the House of Representatives ended on Friday as his fellow Republicans revoked their support following a third failed vote in the House floor. That means that the House, until at least next week, will remain unable to respond to President Joe Biden's request for a $106 billion national security package, including military aid for Ukraine and Israel. Support for Jordan's candidacy faded over the course of the week. He received 194 votes in a third round of balloting on Friday, down from the 200 votes he received on Tuesday, and well short of the majority he needed to claim the Speaker's gavel. Republicans then voted 112 to 86 to revoke Mr. Jordan's nomination in a closed-door meeting. Mr. Jordan, speaking with reporters after the meeting, said it was an honor to be the Speaker designate, adding that Republicans need to come together to figure out who their Speaker is going to be. It is not clear who Republicans might turn to next.
Well, it was, I told the conference it was an honor to be their Speaker designee, but I felt it was important that we all know, get an answer to the question if they wanted me to continue in that role. And so we put the question to them. They made a different decision. I told the conference that I appreciated getting to work with everyone, talk with everyone. I got to know members in our conference that I didn't really know that well over the last 3 weeks, and that we need to come together and figure out who our speaker is going to be. I'm going to work as hard as I can to help that individual so that we can go help the American people.
And talking sports, the first edition of the African Football League kicked off on Friday with a lively 2-2 quarterfinal first leg draw between Simba of Tanzania and Al Hilal of Egypt in Dar es Salaam. Moroccan Rida Slim put the visitors ahead in first half stoppage time before a capacity crowd of 60,000 that included FIFA President Gianni Infantino and his CAF counterpart Patrice Motsepe. Simba scored twice within 7 minutes early in the second half thanks to headers from Tanzanian Dennis Kibu and Malian Saido Kanute. Simba goalkeeper Ali Salim then failed to grasp the cross in on 63 minutes, allowing Mahmoud Karaba to equalize by pushing the ball into the net. The clubs meet again on Tuesday in Cairo with the record 11-time African champions Al Ali favored to win the phase Petro Luanda of Angola or Mamelodi Sundown of South Africa in the semi-finals. FIFA presidents who attended the event said the new competition would change the landscape of African football and the world football in general.
Of course, a great event, the first match.
With a good squad and a good team. On going up against Mikel Arteta for the first time, the Argentine said it was going to be really nice, noting that he has love for the Arsenal manager. The Arsenal boss in his own press conference said the former Tottenham manager